There in the corner. Great. All right. So, Danielle, thank you for joining me.
Sure, Johnny.
Today we're going to be doing a lesson of mine where I help people improve their spoken English.
Let's do it.
Great. Today's lesson is going to be focused on content creation. And what we're doing here is we're going to be recording the lesson and we're going to be uploading it online. Because the whole idea of content creation is to make content.
Exactly.
Let's go ahead and jump right in.
In reading.
Yeah, so what I want you to do here is I want you to just go ahead and read that passage out loud.
Reading level 5 to 7, I guess.
You don't have to read the title.
Okay. Different people like to consume information in different ways. If you're creating amazing content that's going to help lots of people, then you should be shouting it from the rooftops. So don't be afraid of promoting your content.
Yep. Yeah, so you should be promoting your content. How do you like to promote your content?
I guess it's two sides here right now, like the personal one and the professional one. So like for the personal one, I don't really like care. I mean in marketing purpose, but for the professional one, I like to have some kind of consistency, and that's like to include a logo, a brief description, and to make it look fucking cool.
So you make it look really nice. You give it a nice, strong brand image.
Yeah, I guess that's how I put it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's also a saying in like business, there's an acronym, KISS, keep it simple, stupid. So if you keep it really simple, maybe you can also like have a really strong, consistent brand image.
Yeah.
If you look at all the big logos and all the big companies, they have really, really simple logos. And they've even simplified it even more. Like if you look at how logos have changed over time, they usually become more simple and easier to recognize and that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
Cool. So same thing. Go ahead and read
Slide
each of these
2.
terms out loud.
Shouting from the rooftops. Expression. To share some news or information publicly and with as many people as possible. Consume. Verb. Eat, drink, ingest or use up. Contribute. Verb. Give something in order to help achieve or provide something.
This word can also be pronounced contribute.
Contribute. Okay.
Yep.
Components. Noun, a part of element of a larger whole, especially a part of a machine or vehicle.
Very good. So when I have my lessons with my students, when they read these out loud, it helps me really understand where their level of spoken English is.
It's one of the first things you do?
Yeah. And I can tell by asking them to do the reading and then by asking them to do the terms, and I can tell already that your level of English is really, really high.
Cartoons helped.
I mean, everyone has their technique, but that's how my cousin learned English too.
Yeah, with cartoons.
Alright, go ahead and read that first question out loud.
Who is your favorite content creator? You want me also to answer or just to...
Yeah, go ahead and answer it too.
Well, I think there have been a few, but I guess the consistent one, even though I'm not following him anymore, it's I'll answer with two names. It's Gary V and Casey Neistat.
Yeah, I followed them too, but you know what? I actually looked at Casey's YouTube channel, and he posted something like a month ago, 6 months ago, 9 months ago.
Yeah. He retired with his family, and he doesn't want to like dedicate that much anymore time to this.
I remember one time I saw a video of his schedule in order to make those vlogs. Like his whole life was just...
He was very,
Isn't
organized, no?
I don't know if I would say... I mean, organized for sure, but...
Hard.
It was a lot. It was a hardcore.
It was hard. But I guess it's good, no? Like, if you have one life and you juice it out, maybe it's inspiring.
For sure. What's interesting to me is that like he had enough interesting things on his day-to-day basis in order to create an interesting vlog. You know, he found interesting things to record and interesting things to do or interesting places to go in order to make for a interesting vlog. Because if his like days were very mundane and boring, his vlog would probably also be boring.
Yeah.
I mean, he lived in New York, you know?
Yeah, and I think also his target was like young aspiring dudes like us, so I think that's the main following of his. But I don't really follow people that much anymore. I listen from time to time some stuff, but not daily anymore for sure.
Same. You know, I used to listen to Joe Rogan almost daily, but ever since he moved to Spotify, it bothers me so much because now you can't really take out the advertisements, even if you pay for premium.
Yeah, that's true.
And I hate that.
Well, for him it was a good business.
I think he's tired of it too.
He deserves it. I mean, kudos to him.
Yeah, I mean, it's been something that he did for a while before he became big.
Yeah.
But that's not the only thing he did.
Yeah, the UFC thing helped a lot, I think, also, to be honest.
Yeah, he did UFC.
And
He
he's
was
still
also-
doing, right? He's still a commentator.
Yeah, he's still commentating. He also does like comedy shows, stand-up comedy.
Yeah. He is smart. He's smart.
He does a variety of things, and I think that really helped him with this podcast, especially in terms of communication.
Yeah. And Jamie, the guy, it's also a winning ticket for him, I guess. He got some millions out of the Spotify deal for sure.
Oh yeah, definitely.
And
I
he,
mean-
he was the only one from the beginning, right? Doing this for him.
Probably, yeah.
That's cool. I
Yeah.
usually like to look also in depth at this kind of like second or third characters that don't really stand out. Like,
Mm-hmm.
for example, Gary Vee, the guy had this guy D-Rock or Bobbin, or they were like the video guys that were following him. And I'm trying to look also at them, you know, what do they like, how they are as people.
Yeah, they don't. A lot of people don't think about the people behind the scenes
Yeah.
who are just as important, for sure. So why do you
Second-
consume their
yeah.
content?
Well, I guess it fuels a need or fulfills a need. I guess.
Fulfills a need, like entertaining or what?
For me, it was a mixture. First of all, I guess you identify with that person and you admire them, so
Mhm.
you want to have something that they have,
Mm-hmm.
and maybe also a bit of learning, depending on who. I don't know. If you follow Kim Kardashian, maybe there's also some way you can learn stuff, I guess. But I don't know.
I don't know. I don't really like the kind of stuff she posts.
I think that like the big lesson there is like, I mean, I don't know if there's any big lesson, but it's a cool social experiment for sure. How the entire family grew, and I think the mother is the genius behind everything. The
Yeah,
mother.
it must be like weird to be in that family. It must be very unique, and they must, to be honest, have a hard time learning how to deal with it because there's probably not a lot of people who live in that way or have those kind of issues.
Yeah. Anyways, like that's the reasons I follow those guys. Content creation is the contribution of information to any media and most especially to digital media. Typical forms of content creation include maintaining and updating websites, blogging, article writing, photography, videography, online commentary, the maintenance of social media accounts, and editing distribution of digital media.
Perfect.
Fill in the blanks. Find out what questions, problems your audience has
Yeah.
and answer them in an informative, easy to know way, to consume way,
Yeah.
consume way. Understand your target audience well and invest time in research. Once you know what kind of questions your audience has, then it's just a case of developing a system that works for you.
Perfect.
Regardless whether you decide to create online video courses, conduct live lessons, organize a webinar, or operate a blog, content is essential. You should focus on it and pay significant attention to it. As it is said, content is king. It is content that drives people, grabs their interest, and helps them make decisions.
Have you heard that phrase before? Content is king.
Yeah.
It makes me think about how there's another phrase. What is it? Cash is king. You know, makes me kind of see that there's like a comparison there. They are similar because they're just regarded as really stable or really consistent, or it's like a main aspect. And specifically for content, I think a lot of people underestimate how important it is.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of the tools of this century. So, but it will always be about attention in the end. Like, why do you do the content to get the attention? No?
Yeah, I think you're right. And I think more people are kind of transitioning towards this type of perspective because I think a lot of people are also realizing how important it is to have good content online. And on the other hand, there's people like Trump who just post garbage.
Still content, and it still worked.
Yeah, until he got deplatformed.
Until it got banned, right?
Yeah, I have another lesson on that topic, deplatforming as well. I made it before Trump got banned. So
Okay.
anyway, let's go ahead and do these terms.
Position, verb, put or arrange someone or something in a particular place or way. Sporadic, adjective, occurring at irregular intervals or only in a few places, scattered or isolated. Coherent, adjective, logical and consistent. Prominent, adjective, important, famous.
Great. Alright, go ahead and read the first one.
What type of content did you like to create? So I guess we can debate now or answer it.
Yeah, go ahead and answer. So what kind of content did you like to make?
Well, like, again, I guess it's also those two sides with professionally and personal stuff. So the personal stuff, it's not like matters a lot because you just post pictures and links, I guess, about what you like. And on the professional side, like, the biggest for sure is the audio one, like with podcasting. And yeah, some music, and now I'm doing videography, but not that intense. I'm actually doing. I'm gonna experiment for 1 year, like the 80-20% rule. You know, like how do
the 80-20 principle?
Yeah. And we'll see how that goes for the video side.
So are you saying that you're gonna make like 80% of the content you make to be video, or what?
What I'm saying is like I want to like grab attention with my videography services, but I'm only gonna focus on a few projects that look cool, so that they bring that big return on the long term.
Okay.
In terms of marketing.
Okay. Yeah, that's interesting. Usually, if you want to start building a portfolio, you have to either work for less or like
for free.
So you can get like something to add to your portfolio.
Yeah. Well, the videos I'll be doing are for free because I'm like making them, the idea and editing and everything. But it's not like I'm gonna do one each day or one each week. It's gonna be just a few that I think are gonna be cool, and they might like bring the return. But we'll see.
Yeah, it's kind of like a big reason why I'm doing this kind of thing here. Usually, when I get a new student, I offer one free lesson. So in a way, I'm kind of doing this for free as well.
Yeah.
All right, let's talk about the second question here.
What values does your content bring to the viewer? Well, I guess like to recap the ones I mentioned, the podcast, I guess it was personal development, probably. That's or professional career advices or life advices, how do you want to call it? And it was the guests that were bringing the values, because I just put the questions.
Yeah, you had the same questions every time, right?
Yeah. For the music part was probably the idea of showing that if you want something, you can do it no matter who you are. And with the videography, I really believe like video is really underrated, and people like don't see it as a great tool to basically build anything, to be honest, because it's something that's always it doesn't die, it's always there, and it can repeat always a core message of your brand or what you're trying to achieve, you know.
Yeah, I think video as far as form is the most impactful, for sure.
Yeah.
But it's also the most difficult to make.
True.
That's why I don't do it. It's just too much trouble. When I was in high school, I was in a film and photography class, and we had like a film competition, and I submitted a short 30-second clip for a public service announcement, like a PSA, which were supposed to be less than 30 seconds. And I won every award in that category.
Nice.
And then they changed the award system because of that.
You fucked up the system. Huh?
Exactly. They're like, freaking Johnny, you just screwed everything up. Took all the awards.
Well, I guess it was a cool story then and now, no?
Yeah, definitely. But I put so much energy into making it, that's why I won, you know?
Makes sense.
Yeah, it's like, I even worked at it at home because I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
But then afterwards I was like, I don't really want to get paid to do that.
No?
No, it just, the process, the workflow of making it was not appealing to me.
Okay. I mean, that's still a plus. You figure out something that you don't want to do.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's important to consider the workflow, which is one of the questions in this lesson that we'll get to as well.
One of the key components of content creation is being able to understand your target audience, understand the problems that they have and the questions they are asking. From there, you can set about creating content that's going to start to build a relationship with your visitors. By giving people helpful information, you've positioned yourself as an expert.
Good. You don't have any questions so far?
No.
Alright, let's move on.
But we can debate the expert thing.
What, by giving advice?
By giving people helpful information, you've positioned yourself as an expert. I really find it difficult now, like, to spot a real expert because there's a lot of noise.
Yeah, but I think what's important is to just find someone that's an expert to you. How should I put it?
Yeah.
Because someone that's very new at doing something, everyone's an expert to him. Right? But if you start doing it for a while, it's harder to find someone that's an expert if you also know.
If there's something that I mean, it's not something that I've heard from somebody else, and it stuck with me regarding this expert thing. And it's a quote, and it sounds like if plenty of people already know about it, then why should you to do? You know, like, why would you go to if there are already a lot of people, I don't know, going to this expert, why do you think there's something there?
Well,
yeah.
That's why
and this is something like I really believe that true experts don't really shine, and you can find them so easily, you know.
Yeah, I mean, I also think that when someone like an expert becomes really huge, he's already kind of moved past that period when other people can also take advantage of the advice that he has to give. Because the fact that a lot of people are now doing that kind of
takes the value away.
Yeah, in a way. And you have to be a little bit ahead of the trend, a little bit ahead of the curve to take full advantage of many things.
Yeah, for example, like that I'm living right now is I started like being humble and learning again some web development, and you start with basic stuff like H1 and like I don't know, HTML and stuff like that. And I was thinking like this is quite a good reference for what we are talking, because basically, so if you use the same resources and buy the same courses or the free resources, there are gonna be probably 10,000s like you doing the same courses and learning the same way. So the idea was like when you start paying for education and stuff, that's not a filter actually like for being better, but it's gonna cut from the number of people that are gonna go for paid, because most from that big volume, some people for sure are not gonna pay for learning stuff, and that's a good filter for making you like advance faster and being a bit better. Mm-hmm. Regarding in this subject, I mean, I'm not saying applying this to masses, but for me, I think it's quite relevant, this thing.
I mean, anytime you filter or you apply some sort of filter, I think it's good. Even if you apply filters to like interacting with people or consuming content and that sort of stuff. So I think if it's more exclusive, which is kind of what happens when you filter things, then usually you get something better on the other end.
Yeah. Okay. Who creates the content that you consume? Well, I guess I answered a bit for the guys that I admired.
Yeah, you're right. So let's go ahead and just talk about the second one there.
In what way is your content impacting the world? I mean, impacting the world sounds big, you know. So I guess I'll just talk about the podcast because that's the one that probably impacted the most. If we get down to numbers, people.
Okay.
I guess maybe it helped a small percentage of making people ask themselves better questions and maybe get closer to what they want.
Like the listeners or the people who
listeners.
participated?
Maybe also for the people that, for sure, actually, also the people that answer those questions.
Yeah. I mean, they were fully engaged and they were thinking about it.
Yeah.
They were very mindful. But a
Yeah.
listener...
Depends, you know. Depends. But for sure also the guys that were answering them, because a lot of them told me it felt like a therapeutic conversation.
You know, I don't think a lot of people have enough opportunities to even answer those questions, those type of questions.
Yeah.
And that's
because
kind
you
of,
don't think about it.
Yeah, you don't think about it, yeah, for sure. And the questions that you had, were they all following a certain type of theme?
Well, for sure it was not something technical. It was probably, the theme was identity. That's what they actually are about.
Mm-hmm.
That's the meta behind them, identity. And the cool part about identity is it never ends. Like we think from my perspective.
Oh yeah, we always change, right?
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. Alright, let's go ahead and move on to another reading.
At its heart, content creation is about answering questions, solving problems, and entertaining. Content creation is about more than just putting out sporadic, random pieces of content. It's about forming a coherent plan to continually publish high-quality pieces relevant to your audience, in particular, your perfect customer.
Yeah, who's your perfect customer?
The people that pay.
Okay, that's a good one.
I think the people that want to get educated, to be honest.
People with a growth mindset, maybe?
Yeah.
Yep, for sure. I think that's what's good about creating content. I mean, depending on the type you make. But if you make stuff that's going to educate someone, usually people with a growth mindset are going to follow you.
Yeah, but this is also tricky. Because when you try to educate, again we get to the free part, you know? You do it for free. To be honest, I think the from my experience, the best way to sell stuff was not to try selling, actually, just giving.
Yeah, I mean,
but it's hard to do only that.
If you give them a taste, they're gonna want more.
Yeah,
that's why I do a free trial.
Good.
Which is more like a sales call, to be honest, but I mean.
Do you have any statistics made with this? Out of 10, when you give 10?
Well, it depends how much I want to negotiate on the price.
So let's say you have... okay.
If I'm willing to let them negotiate for a lower price, then I can succeed, but I'm not making as much, you know? So it pretty much comes down to how low I want to go. Because if I don't get... If I don't get paid on that call, they're 99%, they're not going to become a student.
So if you have 10 students giving this free hour, it all comes down to how you want to negotiate the after, in terms of, so let's say usually do you get 1 out of 10 after?
If I, are you saying that if I don't get...
That's the question. So you had 10 students, they all wanted to try.
So what's the close rate?
Yeah.
I would say it's 3 or 4.
With negotiating or including negotiating?
There's a lot of factors. There's negotiating and where the student found me, if they found me or if I found them.
True.
All these different factors.
I guess it varies.
Yeah, and it depends on even the time of the year, because right now it's summertime and a lot of students aren't in that mindset. People aren't in that mindset to learn, you know. Summertime.
Let's get wasted. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
What's the workflow like for the type of content that you created? Well, I guess it applies to all of them. Like, you know what's the mission behind it, you get organized and you get it done. I mean, Google, it's the best way to learn stuff.
Did you have like a certain program or schedule or routine to help you get it done?
I had a routine in terms of numbers, like the how many people you contact per day and stuff like that. But I mean, there's no specific program. I guess it depends what works for you. Maybe you want a free one, maybe you want to pay one. I guess it varies a lot.
Okay. I mean, for me, when I make my content, it kind of depends on mostly where I have my meetings, and I kind of work around that. But something I noticed that kind of gets in the way is just like energy and motivation. Sometimes I feel motivated to get it really done and make stuff. Other times I'm just like, I'm not in the mood. So if it's habitual, then it's easier to just make it consistently.
Okay.
Let's talk about the second question.
Why did you create content? Well, I guess it's again there's two sides, but let's talk about the professional one, because like
Okay.
the personal one, I guess we all know why we do it, because we want some attention, we want to feel like we are part of something and stuff. For me at least. So let's not assume though, so I'm talking about me. For the professional side, well, first of all, we live in this world where you kind of do this if you want to get started and do stuff, especially when you are talking about creative services. Probably also the idea of like showing myself that I can do some stuff, so breaking limits, learning new stuff. But having a cool story to say when I'm 60.
And also you could just be like, here you go kids, just click on this link and you can see my story. It's also a good legacy actually. I mean it's gonna stay online
if you have children.
And hopefully the internet's not gonna break. It'll stay online hopefully. So I'm gonna skip this matching here because I don't think it's challenging for you, and we're just gonna
other questions, right?
We're gonna talk about these questions here.
How did you get into content creation? I guess it goes back a bit to what I said, like the challenge part. But it really is like what motivates you and what do you want to get. Because if you want to be a great plumber, you don't give a fuck actually about content creation. To be honest, I mean, maybe you could, but I don't think it's in your interest. Maybe you hire somebody to do that for you, to make some tutorials and shit.
So you got to be a certain type of person, right?
Yeah.
Maybe work in a certain type of industry or have a certain type of job.
The only problem I see with this creative field, I think it's one of the fields where there are also a high number of people that are poor.
Yep, I agree. But on the other hand, I think there are also a lot of people that are exactly the opposite, because there is a pretty high barrier to entry to like videography. You can't be poor because you can't buy a camera. You
need some cash. True.
But maybe something like drawing is different.
It's a lot easier to get in, but there are also a lot more, like it's painting. There are thousands of painters and most of them will not make a fortune out of it, but maybe they will survive, I guess. That's the word.
Maybe.
But I do find it like this creative field kind of pushes like the unknown, because people bring something from the unknown in reality. It also applies a bit to businesses, but especially to like...
When you say the unknown, what do you mean?
Like it's not data, like somebody makes a painting that didn't exist before, Nobody knows. I mean, there are some assumptions where that came from, because we have one like here in the left side of us, a huge painting.
And behind me.
More of a collage kind of thing. So Yeah, that's what I mean. I'm a big fan of the unknown.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's what I liked about photography when I started doing it. And for me, I started doing it like a lot because I had a lot of free time after quitting my job. And I was like, okay, well,
Did you try to make money with it?
I realized that I had to start making a portfolio. So that's what I started with first. And then eventually also started taking a few clients. Now I don't really do that anymore because it's just not worth it for me.
Yeah.
And it was an interesting experience for sure because I had to explore a lot and I had to do a lot of kind of finding new things in order to demonstrate how good I am in photography. And that's not something that I probably would have done on my own, you know. If it wasn't for taking pictures, I wouldn't have never gone in that randomly abandoned building during sunset or wake up at the crack of dawn so I can get a sunrise picture.
Yeah.
You know, things like that. It's kind of related to the next question about how collaborative your content creation is. And with photography, like sometimes you'd have models or you do like a photo shoot with other people who help you on a team. Was your was your content also collaborative?
Most of the times, I guess, yeah. Like for the podcast, for sure, because I had to see somebody to do it.
Yeah.
So yeah, I was not really involved in one-man creative content things, I guess. I mean, so I always had people that I worked with to make that thing happen. Even with, I mean, for video, for sure, you need people. But not, I mean, you can also do it just shooting without like people or without asking somebody specifically to help you.
Yeah.
But usually you need people, for sure.
Yeah, I think collaboration is one of the best ways to kind of reach more people and have a bigger impact. I mean, if someone's willing to collaborate with you, that means that they're interested or they support what you're doing.
Yeah. It's a good confirmation thing.
Okay. Let's talk about these questions.
How have content creators influenced your life? Well, I guess like they gave me some principles that I could apply to my own life.
Okay.
And
Do you have an example?
Yeah. People like think like when you want to do something, like you need to get prepared like 100%, but most of the times you'll never be, you know. And one of the advices like start what you have, you know, make an inventory of what you have and start, you know.
Yeah.
And like for example the podcast thing, I bought the cheapest laptop that was portable and had enough battery to last for the interview, and not the cheapest microphone because it was still a podcast, but like the most good solid entry one that's portable and we are using it also to do the job. So, and after that, like I just used the internet to write to people, so you're not that far away from doing stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not even excuses. I think doing stuff is very practical, and even if it sounds and looks shitty, because I've had podcasts that were shitty and sounded very bad, it was still worth doing it because, for example, like there is this rock band Iris in Romania. There's this guy, like the band leader is called Cristi Minculescu, and I waited almost 1 year to do the podcast with him.
Wow.
Insisting, you know. And it didn't happen face to face. It was like via phone, and I was holding my phone like near the microphone. And for sure it's not the best quality, you know. But why would I use that as an excuse, you know? In the end, if it brings people value, people will go for it, even if it doesn't look shiny or the best.
Yeah, I definitely agree. When I first started making anything, it was always really shitty at the beginning. It's just like, you know, like when you make the first pizza in a batch of pizzas, it doesn't turn out well, you know, just, oh crap, I need more sauce, or I need to turn up the heat or whatever, you know.
So this is how, I guess, for me, it's the biggest influence, that you can do it no matter with what you have. Now you can still do stuff.
Yeah, there's a TED Talk that's kind of related to this, where someone talks about faking it till you make it. I forget who.
Yeah.
Fake it till you make it.
People can search it.
Yeah, but essentially she talks about how you just kind of just have to fake it until you make it. You know, just believe that you actually already know how to do something like that. Because honestly, sometimes to be able to do stuff, you have to just take the step. You know.
Yeah, but I think here there should be a limit, kind of, because if you do 10 years something and nothing happens, maybe it's a sign to stop. You know.
Well, yeah, I think.
Or not even. Maybe you needed those 10 years and you would have succeeded in the 11 one. I'm not sure. But I do think there should be like some kind of limit.
Yeah, there's definitely a balance, but there's not really a way to understand that.
Yeah. There's nothing concrete. It's the unknown.
Exactly.
Yeah. Cool.
All right. What about the second question?
What have you done to support your favorite content creators? I bought stuff and shared stuff. I guess that's the best way to support.
Did you ever subscribe, or?
Yeah, I also subscribed.
What about like on something like Patreon? Have you ever
I
supported
made
anyone?
donations, but not on Patreon.
You didn't like become a Patreon subscriber?
No.
Interesting.
I mean, it's also not. Maybe I will with this web development. Maybe I'll find a programmer that I really appreciate his work and gives value. But so far, no.
Yeah, in my experience, it can be hard to get supporters like that. Personally, I've only supported someone for a few months.
What was he doing? Or she?
I don't remember.
Yeah. Right.
That's how impactful it was.
Well, it's hard to do this, you know. Like, I guess it really goes to the basic needs. Look at OnlyFans. It's a great example of being a Patreon for a basic need, you know.
OnlyFans is different because it's a very specific niche.
Yeah.
And it's a
But
niche
it
that
works.
Yeah, of course it works, and it's a niche that's kind of, taboo.
Yeah. But people are simple, you see. They'll always give you money to basically like very simple things, you know. And sex is one of them.
Yeah. Well,
Even it's like a virtual thing, you know. Yeah. Why wouldn't they give something that money to learn a new language, or learn, I don't know, to do something to paint? Why it's easier to access, you know. I guess.
Yeah, I agree. I just, that type of content is not really the best.
For sure.
If you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Let's go ahead and do some fill in the blanks.
Make use of all the different formats that are available, and don't be shy to promote yourself when you've done great work. When you start to see some success and you're converting customers and showing up in the rankings, then it's just a case of repeating the process and tweaking it for maximum results.
Nice. All right, let me take a quick look at what else we have here. Lots of questions.
What sort of following do you have? I guess here you're referring like to numbers and who they are.
I guess you can tell me
Maybe numbers are small, so I don't really look at that.
What's your customer avatar? Who are they? If you were to describe your following.
It's very not like niched or anything like that.
Okay.
Maybe on the podcast it's a bit of a niche there, that people that want to develop and are in a point when in life when they start asking like more meaningful questions for themselves, like middle age or young professionals. So that would be the one that's a bit more clear. But besides that, I mean,
yeah, I mean, for me it's kind of similar. Mostly friends, family, my network, I guess. People I've met over time that kind of ask for my contact information.
But
follow me.
And I don't really consume that much content these days myself. I mean, I watch YouTube a few times a day with some web development stuff, but I don't really watch friends and family or as I used to. more rarely, anyways.
Yeah.
I, for example, I deleted the apps. I don't have them on my phone anymore.
Yeah. Same. I mean, what I focused on eliminating was browsing.
Yeah.
Just browsing.
Okay.
Because I think that's the worst part in any of these apps. If you're just sitting there and doing this with your finger, it's just mindless.
Yeah. Well, it's good sometimes, but I don't really do it that often.
If I want to do something mindless, I just exercise.
Okay. How does content creation help nurture trust with your online audience? Well, I guess here applies only to the podcasts, and for sure it relates like if you help them, they're gonna trust you, no?
Yeah.
And if people that they see they are there, that some of them are, let's say, a bit more known or have a public figure, and they said yes to the invitation, it's also some kind of confirmation that this might be a trusted source.
Yeah, definitely. And I think it also helps keep people top of mind. It helps keep you top of mind to your potential customer. Like, it's a reminder for them, like, hey, I'm still alive, I'm still here, look at me.
Yeah, true.
Don't forget about me and my services.
How do you maintain a sense of novelty in your content creation process? I don't think I pay attention to this, to be honest.
Well, you naturally did that in your podcast, for example, because you had a new person every time.
Yeah, but now, I mean, yeah, true, when I was doing it like that. But now I don't think I really look at that aspect. Yeah.
How come? It's not important?
No, maybe it's gonna be again. Then that was one of the main reasons actually that I was doing the daily thing to create the novelty.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Did it bring exactly that?
Well, it was two sides. I was doing it one for the listener, so that they are more motivated to check it. Maybe they don't want to listen to this guy, but they have a bigger variety of choices, knowing that there are the same questions, and people maybe they just wanted to listen to entrepreneurs or priests. I mean, there are not that many priests, only one actually, but you get the point.
Yeah.
And like the other side of the novelty, I mean not novelty, but the other side of doing it daily was also to help me get easier kind of a sale, because it was easier selling this when it sounded a bit more crazy to people that were accepting the proposal.
Yeah, and
it got attention.
Yeah, and it created a sense of urgency, especially for you. You're like, I have to find someone every day. You know? And it's a really simple goal. Like, I also did something similar where I wanted to upload a really nice picture on Instagram every 2 days.
Mm-hmm.
Every 2 days, I would upload like a really good quality picture. And that was really hard to do, because I had certain standards and certain expectations for quality, and that was actually challenging for me to meet. But over time, it's changed, and now I make different types of content. So
Okay.
I think it's important to introduce novelty by just doing different types of content over time. I mean, if you do the same thing, you become a master at it, but I like the variety.
Fair. If you could collaborate with anyone, who would you collaborate with, and why? I guess like now I'm doing this a bit, where I'm transitioning to it with the video side. I want to like collaborate with big brands to do videos for them.
Okay.
The reason behind it is like to tell a story and make a living out of it.
Makes sense.
And meet people.
So it's not specifically one person?
No.
Interesting. I was kind of expecting you to say like one specific person. I don't know, Casey Neistat or something.
No. I wrote to him. Yeah.
He didn't reply, huh?
No.
Of course not.
I wrote to him many times.
I think I wrote to some big people too. At one point I wrote to Joe Rogan.
I also wrote to him. It's never been the idea to ask. It's easy to ask.
Yeah, it is indeed. They didn't reply though.
What sort of emotional reaction does your content elicit? I guess with the video side, it's, it looks cool. oh, what a cool idea.
If it's
So,
good quality or
yeah,
if it's
yeah,
interesting.
yeah. Oh, look, this is something, I don't know, different. Whoa, nobody did this. I don't know, something like that.
Yeah.
With the podcast, I guess it's very subjective. Maybe from being sad that you realize something from what somebody said, or being happy. It varies.
Okay, from your perspective. But what about the audience? Do you think they went through the same roller coaster of emotions?
Yeah, to be honest, yeah, like maybe most of them were like motivated and less, oh, I'm gonna learn something new today. But I also think plenty of them might also had some negative, negative positive, you know, like maybe they figured out that they were doing something bad to themselves. I don't know. It's very, like, when it's not technical, it's not that easy to pinpoint that's only this, because humans are complicated, emotional beings.
Yep, pretty much.
Yeah.
Sometimes I think a lot of people forget that we're just monkeys.
Yeah.
I think we talked about this question, so let's just go ahead and skip it and go to the next one.
What influential people become prominent due to their content creation?
Became prominent.
Became prominent.
You mentioned a few before.
Yeah, I guess like look at this example with the sign guy. Comes to mind now. The guy on Instagram that, I don't know, made a huge following just by having a cardboard with some simple messages that he was holding in New York, and got a few million followers now or something like that.
What did he post? Like pictures of him holding stuff?
Yeah, only that.
Every day? Like
Not every day, but in cool moments, I guess. I'm not sure.
okay.
Yeah, that's a good example that comes to mind now.
And
But
that
he
guy was probably
was-
like an unknown, you know, like a
Yeah,
nobody.
and he probably still is for many of us. But for me, that's a yeah.
Yeah, I mean, most people when they think about this might think about like Joe Rogan, Casey Neistat, those bigger YouTubers, Logan Paul,
Yeah,
blah 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 blah.
but it depends, you know, like, because content creation, it's a tool that anybody can have, you know.
That's what I like about it. You don't have to be rich to really make content, and so the barrier to entry is not necessarily the resources you have, but maybe it's the mindset.
Yeah. How does content creation help you develop and grow as a person? Depends. I guess it's also here subjective. In my case, it was really about like this overcoming some limits, you know, that I thought before, and yeah, that's the biggest takeaway for me.
So you gave yourself kind of a unique challenge.
No, not a unique, yeah, maybe a unique challenge, call it as you want, but it was just like, you're good enough, you know, that thought.
Okay. Kind of validated
Yeah,
something.
yeah.
Cool. Well, that's pretty much all the questions in this lesson. And what I usually like to do at the end of my lesson
Yeah.
is I ask my students for feedback. What kind of feedback do you have on the whole experience, on the lesson? Did you feel like it was challenging in terms of, you know, vocabulary complexity or anything like that? Did you feel challenged doing these activities?
Maybe a bit when I was like reading and adding matching the words,
Okay.
but I don't know. I guess it depends.
What about general feedback? What comes to mind when you think about feedback?
Maybe it would have been for me more interesting, like to, instead of reading those terms, like discussing them, maybe having them as a discussion and not just read them.
Okay.
Even though we had a lot of discussions, because like, I mean, I've read, you know, the nouns, but I don't think I'll remember that much.
If you noticed, a lot of those terms were also in the questions, in the reading.
Yeah, I saw that you were aligning them with the other slides.
So the idea is to kind of get yourself warmed up to them just kind of read them
Yeah.
and then use them in the questions or in the reading.
Okay.
The idea here with learning to speak better English is to kind of use as many forms of expression as possible when you're trying to learn a word. Like answering a question where that word was used, or making a sentence using that word.
Yeah. Then maybe something that works for me could be like after we had those words, maybe it would have been something like level 1, level 2, level 3, because we are generations of gamers. So let's say level 1, so use these words, I don't know how, but in a simple way. Level 2 would be we use them in a harder way, and level 3 even harder.
What you're describing is essentially a homework assignment that I give my students.
Yeah, but a bit gamified,
I've thought of so many things of so many ways of gamifying this.
Yeah, for sure there are.
There's a million ways of gamifying it, but I don't have the resources to do it myself.
Yeah, then maybe this confirms that this is a need.
Yeah, there is, definitely. I think there's potential to turn this into a startup. That's what I'm working on, but I think I have to be patient.
Yeah.
What about one thing that you learned? If you can tell me one thing that you learned, what would it be? Like a new word, a new concept, anything new?
Well, I guess first of all it helped me solidify even more the
Solidify
even more the things I answered regarding like the content, because it's always a good test to see how you answer these kind of questions if you already like have thought about the ideas behind before. So that's a good takeaway. Maybe also like the expression a bit with when I had a few mistakes.
Yeah, as far as mistakes goes, you made like 2 pronunciation mistakes, which is not a lot.
Yeah,
A lot of my students make a lot more.
that would be one, and yeah, I don't know, that comes to mind now.
Cool. What I would normally do next, now at this point, would be to ask my student to take more lessons. Hey, you want to buy a package?
Well, I'm gonna think about it.
I'll just take that as a no.
Yeah, I mean, it's not a need now for me.
I know it's not a need for you, that's why I'm not even trying.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you said it only 2 mistakes. I guess it's a good feedback.
Exactly. There's
God
like,
bless the cartoons, man. Like first years because there were not subtitles. That's how I learned. At 4.
oh, without subtitles.
Yeah, it forced me to understand. So
Yeah.
I was trying to figure out, and I mean, from this also in first grade we were doing a bit of English, and I was watching cartoons, and it forced me to motivation. See.
Yeah, definitely. Cool. Well, I'm glad we were able to do this lesson together, Danielle. Thank you for
Thanks,
joining me.
Hope it also helps with the YouTube thing that you want to do.
Yeah. Content creation is great.
Cool.
Alright, thanks for joining.